Can you give people a quick tree ID lesson? We're in a good spot for it when I look around here.
Darren, my buddy. trees,
Claudia.
Trees are plants.
Come on,
trees
Claudia.
are plants, oh my goodness.
So the first one we talked about, Douglas fir, the problem here is we can't see any of the bark or any of the branches. But Ken, can you just grab the lower branch for me? Actually, we need a climber. Is there a climber in the... So Douglas fir is a tree adapted to fire. So it has a very thick bark, very thick furrowed bark typically. This one didn't quite read the field guide. Maybe it's a little bit different out here because we don't get fires in the forest. But that bark can be 6 to 12 inches thick, and when a fire on the coast or on the other coast goes through, it just laughs it off and it loses all of its lower bark. So how about hemlock? Who can see a hemlock? Western hemlock. You can tell by the top of the tree droops, right? No? Hemlock there a little. Oh, Stephen Ruiz. Nice. He climbed the tree, Kevin. He's a fish guy. Thanks, buddy.
He's a bird guy.
So we've got a bird guy, all that stuff, vertebrates. So we've got, what's this one? Douglas fir, thank you. Tastes kind of like a orange peel, if you taste it.
Don't eat lots of it though.
Yeah, unless you're dying of scurvy, fabulous. So if you feel scurvy coming on, grab some of this. Western hemlock, so it's got needles that go all the way around the what's this called?
Branch.
The twig, the branch. And it's got any of the cones you'll see on the ground here, the bigger cones, there should be some here, have a, looks like a little mouse tail sticking out. Western hemlock has very bad hair. Hey!
No, the tree did.
Did that happen?
Yeah. Nice reaction.
Just right when you said it.
No, that couldn't be.
Yeah, it's just
Here's
Who's got my back here, Claudia? No. So this is a Douglas fir cone. If you look very carefully, it's got looks like a little mouse hind feet and tail sticking out. These, this is not a true fir. So this does fall completely off the tree. True firs, they'll stay on the tree, and squirrels will gnaw them off. But yeah, as I say, the Douglas fir is probably the tallest tree of any tree we get, maximum. Yeah, and okay, so that's Western hemlock, droopy top, small cones, bad, messy hair. I really relate to hemlock. And then there's Sitka spruce, the other tree of the wet.
Anybody down in the ravine.
See a Sitka spruce from here?
Here's a cone of a hemlock.
He has a hemlock
For
cone.
comparison,
down there, but
they're quite productive too. They make millions and millions of these little things.
So they do all live in different places. Douglas fir doesn't like to get its feet very wet. That's why it's on this shelf here. Sitka spruce likes the wet, and being close to the ocean. And hemlock can deal with wet as well. And the other thing to consider is that all these trees, some of these are shade tolerant. So there's a war that's happening here the whole time between access to light and something that creates an opening again so trees that aren't shade tolerant can take off is happening right beside, well hopefully it's not exactly going to happen now, but it's in the process of happening. So when that tree finishes falling, it's going to take out a whole bunch more trees, open a gap where other trees that aren't shade tolerant will start to come up, and we get this patchwork. And that's what maintains an old growth forest, the older, younger. And we're going to look at some dead trees soon, which are even more important. The only good thing about these live trees is that they're going to die one day and make important habitat for invertebrates. So,
And what's that leaning tree, by the way? What species is that? Red cedar, right?
yeah.
There's a closer one here. The bark is so stringy, so you can see the
Long,
nice-
stringy bark. This was the Tree of Life by First Nations. It still is the Tree of Life for First Nations. The bark could be peeled off. A whole big strip there could be peeled off. The inner bark used for clothing and basket making. The roots used on the tree. Absolutely everything used on that tree. So.
And can they take the bark and it's not going to hurt the tree?
Yes, so they won't take it the whole way around. So they'll use it. And a tree like that doesn't have many branches, they would put a notch at the bottom, and somebody who is trained to do it would slowly peel it back up the tree, and it would go take a whole strip, way higher than they could reach.
It gets narrower and narrower and eventually can break, so they can pull it.
And would it
You see the
regrow?
hemlock?
No, it won't. It'll heal, but it won't regrow, so you can still see it.
What is a grand fir?
Just a Douglas?
Yeah, so a grand fir is a true fir. If you talk to a forester, it's called balsam, even though it's not. And grand fir is on around Victoria. Very the needles grow in a flat plane. It's a true fir, so the cones grow upright. and they break off on the trees, so they don't come down.
So 50 points for what kind of fur that is, if what people can identify. If you can identify this one with the little
The
pockets
one with
of
the little,
Here?
Right here.
it was a hint
See how
what you had
smooth?
said.
Look how different the bark is from the hemlocks, which are sort of scaly, and the cedar, which is stringy.
Grand fir?
No, grand fir is a drought-tolerant species. So we're on the wet west coast now.
So it is a true fir. Those little bumps. If you push one
I
of
heard
those bumps,
it. Amabilis. How
you'll
many
get-
points? 50?
50, yes.
hit in the eye with sap.
What is it?
Amabilis.
Does it have another name?
Amabilis. No?
Amabilis.
Well, maybe
A-M-A-B-I-L-I-S.
And.
What would be like a more common name?
Americans call them silver fir, but they
Silver
exaggerate.
fir.
As if that's silver.
Poke that and the sap gets in your face.
There's
way more
sap in there.
valuable.
Yeah.
And then this tree that's right behind you here, these guys.
So this is more hemlock. Yeah. So more hemlock. So the bark is all different. And oh look, this is one that's done the right thing. It's died and provided habitat for different things. So
economically, which species is the most valuable to the loggers here?
economically, the question was which tree species is the most valuable to the loggers?
Toss up depending on the market, but I would certainly.
Probably western red cedar.
Yeah,
I guess.
if they can take big old furs.
The Douglas fir would pay for a road.
And things have changed. We're going to talk about Sitka spruce when we move on, but remember that Sitka spruce was very important for plane making and things, guitar making, things like that. So it's a very strong, light wood. So
So
things
you
have
guys should
changed.
stay in the front. We're gonna see a few areas and awesome things to point out. But can we make sure the naturalists are in the front? As this is the last steep area, then we'll.
I better go to the back then.
We're really high maintenance. We told them we're only coming if we stay in the front.
Yeah, we're going to see everything first. We've never been here.
Get the scary bears away.
This is the steep.
We want to see the salamanders.
And your wilderness adventure.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we can. I saw him back there.